All right, guys, what's up? What's up? We're about to jump into chapter 13. If you guys hear my washing machine in the back, try to tune it out. If you can see here, our friend Riley, the reading dragon, he's shedding. So if you can see some of those little sheddings in the background, that's kind of cool. All right, let's jump on in though. Chapter 13. Perfect, said Min when she saw the secret compartment of the drawer. Exactly what we need. Eddie smiled. It had been hard to hide his fear as he helped Min into the drawer. She was woefully slow, and the desktop was much more exposed now with so many things removed. Remember the unfortunate fly? Eddie had to stop himself from yelling, "Hurry!" as she tottered along. "I feel so much safer here," she said as she settled in. "Quite cozy, really. The little roof makes it almost like a little house." Perched on the cotton ball that Eddie had fetched from the front of the drawer, she looked surprisingly comfortable. "We even have a bit of light," said Eddie. "Beneath the roof of the secret compartment, there is a thin crack that allowed light in." It was only, as Eddie said, a bit of light, because even the main drawer opening wasn't large. But for bugs with night vision, it was enough. "Couldn't be better," said Min. "I'm a lucky bug." It wasn't long before they both felt grateful for the drawer. When the kindergartners left, the Vischer started cleaning the huge desk in earnest. It was as if she were trying to erase all memory of Miss Laurel. The air grew thick with sprays and cleaners. But hidden away in their secret compartment, Eddie and Min were spared the worst. "Come sit," said Aunt Min, patting the spot beside her cotton ball. "Let me tell you a story." "A book story?" asked Eddie. Min nodded. "Have I ever told you about the borrowers?" "Who are they?" "Tiny people," said Min, "who live under the floors and behind the walls in the houses of the big squishers." "Oh," said Eddie, already entranced. "Are they as tiny as us?" "Not quite," said Min. "Do they squish?" "Goodness, no. The borrowers understand what it's like to be little, even if they look like squishers." "Why do they live under the floor?" Min sighed. "Can't you guess? They hide from the squishers just as we do. And like us, they are often in danger. All they want really is a safe home." "Oh," said Eddie again. "I wish I could read that book." "It's here in the library," said Min, "for now, anyway. But listen, I'll tell you some of it." So she told Eddie about the time the borrowers were imprisoned by some nasty squishers in an attic, and the only way to escape was by balloon. It was a small adventure like the borrowers themselves, but to a reader of Eddie's size, it was totally gripping. Time passed quickly. Min had just finished her story when the last school bell rang. "Bring! Good," said Min. "Let's hope you know who will leave now." And as if she had heard, just a few minutes later, the Vischer slipped away. There was barely a click of the door. The moment she was gone, Eddie boosted Min up the front of the panel of the drawer. Together, the two bugs looked out. The top of the desk was unrecognizable. "There's nothing left," said Eddie. An empty expanse of wood lay before them. Nothing but ink blotches, tea stains, and the dents and scars of librarians' past. Not one single item to remind them of Miss Laurel. Only the huge dark computer remained, looming above the desk. Aunt Min stared at the desk in dismay. "Oh my!" Then her gaze moved slowly toward the bookshelves, and her expression grew sad. Eddie knew what she was thinking. She was imagining the books gone too, and with them, all of the secret worlds. For a long time, she stared out at the library, still and quiet. Then, as Eddie watched, she reached into the room with her antennae. Her whole body quivered. From deep inside came a low, mournful thrum. "Aunt Min," said Eddie after a while, "what are you doing?" "Just feeling it, sensing, remembering, wishing I could walk through the library one last time." Glancing at her nephew, she shook her head. "Oh, Eddie, I wanted you to feel it too." "Feel what?" "The magic." She looked around again. Suddenly, she stamped a tiny foot. "I don't understand," she cried, her voice hoarse with passion. "It makes me so mad. How foolish these squishers are to close a library. Where will the children go to find stories, to experience, with their own eyes and ears and minds, the greatest adventures ever imagined? Oh, Eddie, I spent such thrilling hours in this room. I've seen the magic. Where will the reading magic happen if there's no library? He could only nod. I feel so helpless, continued Min. How I wish I had a voice loud enough for that Visher to hear. Wouldn't I give her a piece of my mind? Wouldn't I tell her a thing or two? I'd love to see that, said Eddie. And for a moment, he could actually picture it. Aunt Min giving the Visher a brisk scolding, telling her in no uncertain terms about books and libraries and why they are important. Ah, well, suddenly Min sagged. Silly dream, isn't it? Who listened to an old bug like me? Are you hungry, dear? As soon as she said it, Eddie realized that he was very hungry indeed. It had been a long time since his last meal. He scooted down the desk leg looking for dinner. There wasn't any. The longer he looked, the more surprised he grew. Yes, there had been only one class today, but there were always a couple of children with food dribbling out of their pockets, even if it was just yesterday's cookie. It wasn't till he glanced at the walls that he understood. The library posters were gone. The ones that read, the ones that said, "Read," with pictures of dogs wearing glasses or dinosaurs tucked into bed or famous Squisher athletes, all reading books. In some places, there was nothing but a bare spot and tiny pinholes. But here and there, a new sign had been put up. Food free zone. This means you. Clearly, the Visher was serious about her new rule. All Eddie could find was a dried-up piece of cough drop that had been stepped on at least 5 times. Gag, said Min when she saw it. It was stuck to the floor, said Eddie. I can tell you. Sorry, dear. I know you did your best. Or, I can tell. Sorry, dear. I know you did your best. It's just not the same out there, Aunt Min. I know. Never mind. I have an idea. Tell me, said Eddie. You'll have to wait till the cleaner moves through. But after that, if you promise to stay out of trouble, I do. You can go to the teacher's room. The teachers have their own room? Yes. They go there when they want to rest from the children. They sit and talk and eat. Eat, said Eddie. Yay! Now that he had a meal to look forward to, it was hard to wait, but he could already hear the rumble of the cleaner's cart coming down the hall. This was followed very quickly by the kabang of the library door opening, soon as the vacuum let out a roar and began its ghastly work. Just one more thing, said Min after a while. What? Said Eddie. There could be a mouse in the teacher's room. A mouse? Are you kidding? You mean like Stuart Little? I wish, said Min. No, a real mouse, a wild mouse. What? Said Eddie. Well, probably not. Listen, I shouldn't have mentioned it. I heard some teachers talking, but that was weeks ago. I'm sure it's gone by now. Really? Yes, really. Listen, the cleaner's leaving. You can go now. Aunt Min, you're sure about the mouse? Eddie, stop worrying. Go. Well, as you learned just a few pages ago, when someone told Eddie to stop worrying, it had pretty much the opposite effect on him. The walk to the teacher's room was long. By the time he got there, he felt deeply uneasy. After all, a mouse is no small matter. Or rather, it is a small matter, but not if you're the size of a button yourself. Eddie stood outside the teacher's room, wavering. Fear ordered him to retreat. Hunger begged him to please go in and find some dinner. Hunger won. The door to the teacher's room was closed, but there was a generous gap between the door and the floor. After a few last worrisome thoughts in which a mouse's front teeth featured prominently, Eddie slipped under the door. Almost immediately, he smelled food, even in the middle of the night. After the vacuuming, the teacher's room smelled wonderfully tasty. Eddie had never encountered so many exciting food odors at once. Could one of those smells be mouse? There were tables in the teacher's room and lots of chairs. Up against the wall stood a long black leather couch, bigger than one in the library, but not as comfy looking. A tiny light had been left on over the sink. Eddie took it all in, wondering how carefully the cleaner had vacuumed this room. Not very, it turned out. Thinking about it, Eddie wasn't surprised. The cleaner was tall and had no antennae, not even short ones. So of course he couldn't sense that what Eddie could sense. The area under the couch, for example. Eddie could tell that the cleaner had not pushed his vacuum cleaner there in a very long time. Wow, said Eddie. He crept forward. The undercouch zone was magnificent, a vision of plenty such as he ever seen. Over here, a sweet green pea. There was a chunk of carrot, a blueberry, a fuzzy piece of cheese, chocolate cookie crumbs everywhere. There was even a bit of liver sausage, which, being a vegetarian, Eddie walked right past. In the end, he chose the blueberry. It was huge, but he had already learned from his raising, roundish things were easy to roll. Even more important, the berry was juicy and plump. Eddie knew it would be delicious. Aunt Min loves fruit, he thought, pushing the blueberry across the room. This was going to be great. It was a bit of a squeeze getting the berry under the door, but out in the hallway it rolled very well. So well, in fact, it started to roll away. Stop, cried Eddie as it made a break for the classroom. Slow down, he yelled as it barreled past the library door. Eventually, he got it into the library. He pushed it deep under the librarian's desk, far from the edges where it might be seen, and away from where the visher would put her feet. There were some cords under there that belonged to the computer, but he managed to get around them. The location was dim, but even so, as Eddie parked his berry, he spotted something he hadn't noticed before. A pad of yellow stickies. Ha! Muttered Eddie. They must have fallen out of the desk. He felt heartened to see that something still remained of the librarian here, as well as in the drawer. She certainly loved stickies. Steadying the berry with his front feet, he dug in. He chomped firmly into it with his mandibles, gobbling down on his own dinner before carving out a large chunk for Aunt Min. The berry tasted every bit as delicious as it looked. Purple juice dripped from his drawers and thorax. Maybe I shouldn't have chosen something so messy, Eddie thought. He glanced at his front feet covered in juice and realized that he must be marking the floor with his footprints. Thank goodness he had noticed. The visher would sure spot a blueberry juice trail on her desk. He walked over to the yellow pad and wiped his feet on the top sticky till they were dry. Then he peered at the paper, leaning in so close that his eyes almost touched it. Yes, there were dark little marks all over it. He had picked up the blueberry chunk and started to climb the desk leg. As usual, his mind wandered. It went searching for something more interesting than the long, slow slog up the desk. He was halfway up when it happened. A shock ran through him that it was so strong he got chills. Wow, he said. Eddie had a great idea. Come back for chapter 14. See you guys later.